Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another paper crafting video tutorial. Today we're going to do some fun stencil layering with brand new products from the Simon Says Stamp Cheering for You release. I don't know about you guys, but stencil layering is one of my go-to absolute favorite techniques for creating stunning cards every time. We're going to start with the Just Right bundle and some craft cardstock. So this is the Nina Desert Storm cardstock, and it is my favorite for all crafty things. Using the Just Right stamp set, we're going to use the larger image from this set full of pencils, and it does fill an A2 sized card perfectly. And using some fawn positively saturated ink from Simon Says Stamp, we are going to stamp several panels with this ink. And it's very much a tone-on-tone look. Even just this pencil outline would be a really cool look with some other techniques on top if you wanted to. Now you definitely could stamp this with a black outline if you wanted. If you wanted a little bit more of a definitive outline of your pencil images, but I want the stenciling to take center stage, so I kind of want more of that ghosting effect of the pencils. Then using either a grip mat or a stamp wheel, in this case, something to hold your paper and stencil in place, we are going to grab the Just Right layering stencils and we're going to begin applying our color. I am going to do two colorways today. And like I said, we're doing craft cardstock. If you do white cardstock, the look is going to be completely different. But I am just a sucker for the craft cardstock and the look it gives. Using one of my favorite positively saturated ink trios from Simon Says Stamp, we're going to take butter, zest, and I think it's, yes, butter, zest, and honey. And we're going to apply those through our stencil. Now I'm doing two cards at once for each of these. So there's going to be two panels. Don't be alarmed if when the color goes on, it's a little blotchy. In fact, I'm glad that it shows this because these panels are the exact panels you see in the finished cards. And on those cards, the ink is smoothed out and it's absolutely stunning. Next, we're moving on to stencil number 2, and the first 3 stencils color the different areas of the pencil. So you could do them all in the same color if you wanted to, or there's lots of different ways to stencil them. This is probably the easiest way. We're doing one color first, and then in the next set of cards, we're going to do multicolor, which is a little bit more labor intensive, I suppose, but as long as you kind of keep that going, you'll be fine. Okay, so we're applying our color. I did opt to use the smaller blending brush here from Simon Says Stamp to get into all those little areas. It's not quite as important for this first set of cards, but for the second set of cards, I definitely think that you want to use a smaller brush. Now, it looks really blotchy, but again, just trust the process with this one. Finally, we're going to go in with honey and apply our third color. What I love about these is the traditional just kind of yellow number 2 pencil look of these first 2 card panels is perfect for anything, but especially back to school, teacher cards, you know, good luck cards to your favorite student, things like that. And I personally love a pencil card or project at any time, so I think they are so wonderful. Okay, the next stencil is going to color in the erasers and the lead, not the lead, the wood part of the pencil. So for that, I am using a little cheeky color ink here and applying that to the erasers. I think this is just the perfect color for the pencil erasers and it looks amazing. And then a little latte ink is what we're going to use for the wood part of the pencil. And when I pull this away, you're really going to see these pencils starting to take shape. And again, really blotchy. At this point, I wasn't sure if I was going to love it or not, but give it a little bit of time, it's going to be amazing. The final stencil in this set is anything that you want to ink in a gray color. So that's going to be the lead of our pencil and then the silver little metal band around the top. I'm going to use the same color, but I'm going to go much harder, I guess, with the lead, and then I'm going to really lighten my hand for the little metal band around the top of the pencil. So you'll see how I'm just using a really light touch and not re-inking my brush so that it stays nice and light. And there is our pencil background. Let's go ahead and do the other one before we switch our colorways. Now for the second colorway, I wanted it to be multicolor and I wanted it to be based off the two new positively saturated ink little cubes. So there were a couple of new colors released in cubes with this Cheering for You release, which is so exciting. And I'm going to use a combination because I'm using a lot of new colors. So some of the new colors don't have cubes yet. And any of them that don't have cubes, I obviously needed to use my full-size pads, but I would imagine cubes are coming for all of these. So one of those is like the dew and the mist and the raindrop, which is a definite fan favorite, and cabbage, avocado, and kale. Also a favorite, a huge favorite. Both of these are favorites of mine and yours. And so that's what you're going to see with these. Now you'll notice I've got a different color for each pencil that is shown on the panel. And we are using that yellow color combination as well. I call this more of the jewel tone pencils. So instead of like the super bright rainbow colors, this is more the jewel tones. Um, we have pastels, we have, you know, the primary colors, and then, or yeah, I guess that's what I'd call them, and then the jewel tones. And I am loving these jewel tones on the craft cardstock. With this one, you just want to make sure that you definitely are, you want to line up the right colors. And I say this because it's easy right here. When you move to the next stencil, if you forget what color goes where, and this did happen, and I had to start over. So that's why I warned you of that. It's kind of a pain. I am doing two panels at once, just like I did before, so this part's pretty easy. There's my cabbage, one of the new colors. We're going to do all of these. The little sky goes here. Thistle went for the purple. Here's some punch. I do always try to use what's left on my blending brush first, but if that ink is gone, that's nutmeg, then I will re-ink it. Some of the smaller areas especially, I didn't need to. Go in with a little butter. This yellow trio that I used for the all yellow background really works well with these jewel tones. And dew. Now, when going in with the second stencil, we want to make sure that we are using that next color in that same color trio, or the medium mid-tone color, pardon me, from that color trio. So we have Zest, and here we have Avocado. And just like with the all yellow background, these do go on a little blotchy. I do think maybe I used a slightly lighter hand here, and so it wasn't quite as blotchy right off the bat, but still it doesn't look great. But again, just trust the process. It's going to absorb into the cardstock. It's going to smooth out and be the stunning card background that you saw at the beginning of the video. And I accidentally used kind of more of my orangey brown color on that larger pencil, but I did just go over it with the sangria and I think it fixed it. So that's what I'm saying. It's very easy to kind of get off. All right, we're going to continue stenciling these and we're going to use the same colors for all of the rest of the pieces, just the pencils are different. So you can definitely see that by doing a multicolor background, it can be a little bit more work. Now, something else to keep in mind is some of the pencils on this background are not going to be as long as the single pencil image from the stamp set. So you could fussy cut these. There is not a coordinating dies for this background since it's made to be more of a background. However, you could easily fussy cut these. You guys know I'm not a huge proponent of fussy cutting. However, in this case, it would be very easy to do since there aren't any really tight areas. And now we're going to take the rest of our colors. I did the lead and the silver band for these first, and again, just doing exactly the same colors as before for the yellow backgrounds. And now we have our wood and the erasers. Next, we are going to take the brand new old letter background, and this is a new stamp of a previous stamp. So before it was made out of red rubber, now they have a background in the clear. So this is one of my favorite text backgrounds. Using the grip mat in my MISTI, I am going to kind of place it so that I can easily know where it's going to line up perfectly. And placing my backgrounds right in that A2 sized rectangle, I am going to ink up my old letter background with white pigment ink, and I'm going to stamp all 4 panels with this white pigment ink. And then I'm going to work on die cutting and stamping the rest of the components for my cards. I love the way a white pigment ink looks over the background. And again, this is another thing that will kind of soften over time. But even right here off the bat, I think it looks amazing. Okay, this was a little bit later, and you can see, look how good the backgrounds look. I was thrilled. I'm taking some of my favorite dies from this release, as well as this U stamp set with coordinating die. I've die cut the word U from some slate gray cardstock, and then we have the layering apple, arching leaf, and also some florals from a frame die from this release that I've die cut from different Lawn Fawn textured cardstock and Lawn Fawn card or Simon Says Stamp cardstock, pardon me, in different colors. It really just was a color thing. I really wanted a lot of texture cardstock, but then if I needed an additional color, I used that. So Schoolhouse Red for our schoolhouse card, of course, is that darker red color here. We're going to assemble the apples first. So we have 2 shades of red, then we have a brown stem and a green leaf. We're going to use the apples on the yellow number 2 pencil background. Both cards have similarities, but I decided to kind of go different ways with my embellishing. So on the multicolored pencil background, we're not going to use the apple, but we're going to pull in a little bit bigger flower that you can see there. I love the addition of some additional leaves and little florals for these cards. It adds to the overall look of the card, but it doesn't take away from that beautiful stenciled background, which is definitely what I was looking for. I love using my embellishment wand to easily pick up and place all of the different components for these small layering pieces right where I want them to go. Using some foam adhesive squares from Simon Says Stamp, we're going to pop the apple up on our card here. And then I'm just gluing the little yellow flower center down. Using the U die cut as a guide, and I am using only the die cut word. I ended up not using the shadow. I die cut it, but I thought it covered up a little too much of my background, so I'm opting not to use it for my card. I am piecing together some foam on the back of the word U. I love that this word is chunky enough that it really works great to just place my foam right on the back. And we're going to tuck this right below this apple, almost like the apple is sitting on the letter O in this sentiment. Got to peel off all the backing first. And I'm going to even remove that one foam adhesive square so that I can, there we go. I like how that looks a lot. And then the greenery just softens it just a little bit. These are some of my favorite pieces from the release. I love a good leaf, and I have found so many uses for these. If you watched my Halloween clock video here on YouTube, I used these for a home decor Halloween project, and absolutely amazing. So we're going to do the same thing for the second card. I've talked about this a lot recently, that when I have all of the supplies out, I'm often making multiple cards so that I can have a bunch on hand. And um, I just find it just as easy to create two or more as it is to create one. I did end up taking an individual leaf and placing it on the other side of the apple. I felt like it balanced it kind of nicely, especially with the addition of a small white floral right here. I like that little pop of white, which is going to come in to play when we add our sentiment strip to each of these cards. Plus, it really pulls into the white pigment ink text background. Let's go ahead and do our backgrounds now, or pardon me, our sentiments and embellishing for the multicolor pencil background. And again, we're piecing together the foam on the back of the word U. This time we're going to tuck florals around the word no apple, but I still want it to be very similar to the other one. Now you could add an apple to this one if you wanted to, but I'm going to use one of the larger white florals. The beautiful thing about this particular frame that the florals come from is lots of florals die cut with that single die, and you're able to then utilize a lot of those different florals. So I really didn't have to die cut it multiple times to get all these flowers. I just had a whole bunch. We're going to tuck another leafy branch. Same thing with the arching leaf. I only had to die cut it twice and was able to get all 4 cards. So we're going to add the U, and I kind of didn't like where I placed that. I'm going to move that just a little bit. And I'm going to have to fix my flower too. So you can see I'm just tucking my little flower here right next to the Y in the word U with the greenery, and then on the other side of the word we will add a couple of additional single leaves just like we did for the apple to help balance it out. The pencil background is still prominently on display, but now we have our wonderful sentiments. We'll use some small foam squares for those individual leaves. You could even add additional little flowers if you wanted to. I tried to keep it a little more simple and not cover up too much of the background. Now, once we have this done, we're going to take several sentiments from that U stamp set, the same stamp set that the large die cut U coordinates with, and we're going to stamp all 4, and I picked 4 different sentiments. We're going to stamp them all with black ink. Now, originally I stamped charcoal ink thinking that I would like that, but thinking I would like that mostly because I thought it would coordinate with the slate color, but I found that it was too light. I didn't think it was going to be quite as prominent as I wanted, so I just went ahead, and that's the beauty of the Misty, inked over that with some VersaFine Onyx Black, and I liked that a lot better. We're going to die cut each of these with the sentiment label die from Simon Says Stamp. I line it up with one end, run it through, turn it around and run it through with the other end. And I'm going to do that for all 4 of these. And then we're going to take foam adhesive strips and we're going to pop up a little sentiment on each one of our cards. And here are all of my card panels finished up. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this set of 4 pencil layering stenciled cards featuring brand new products from the Simon Says Stamp Cheering for You release. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.